Hi, welcome to the Sonic Stadium's E3 2017 coverage. I'm Sven, this is Jason, Alex, and we're here to bring you the lowdown on Sonic Forces.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at this
Look
dude
at all those
right
forces.
here. Look at all those Sonic's characters. Eggman's robots.
Look at that weird smiley face purple gun thing.
I mean, there's a lot going on in that poster, to be quite honest, and there is a lot going on in Sonic Forces in general. The demo was pretty exhaustive. I mean, if you haven't been following already, which, you know, if you're a Sonic fan, why haven't you caught up with it already? But it's essentially, you know, some form of Sonic Generations 2, right? You've got classic Sonic, you've got modern Sonic, and now you've got a new challenger, which is, you know,
you or whoever you make, like
fan character of the game.
Unfortunately, no echidnas, so, you know, thanks a lot, Seg, you left me out.
Yeah, that's mad. So, yeah, I mean, obviously when that was announced, people both lost their minds in a good way and both lost their minds in a bad way. So
I was uneasy about the character, definitely. But I wasn't, I was kind of like in the middle.
I think I understand why they did that after playing the Avatar twice. I mean, with these Sonic games like Sonic Generation, Sonic Unleashed, the Sonic levels tend to be fairly short because you got to burst through a huge amount of land in a it's always just a short amount of time.
yeah.
So you need some kind of replayability with that, and that's what the avatars bring to that.
I mean,
you're not only able to collect your own characters and everything. I mean, collect the rings to build up your characters and that allows you to replay a level as a graded character.
I mean, the proof is always in the pudding, right? Like, no matter how controversial or, like, awesome or bad an idea seems to be, you know, you never do know whether it's great or not until you actually play it. And thankfully, Sega gave us a look at it during their E3 2017 demo. And, yeah, I mean, I guess we should maybe start with the Avatar characters.
It's better than Big the Cat.
Better than Big
Fishing, you know?
Don't blaspheme on our video show, Alex. What are you doing?
I've already blasphemed once with Tails. I mean, although this time I'm being serious.
So actually, no. Let's hold off on the Avatar stuff because I think it needs to. It kind of augments the modern Sonic gameplay a little bit and the classic Sonic, which is kind of interesting. So let's talk about the trailer first. The trailer that was released like literally just after, I think, or during the Nintendo press conference.
All right.
There was a lot going on in that. We saw some characters. It seems to really evil Shadow. Yeah, Shadow the Shadow.
Shadow not really evil. I mean, even at his best, he's an anti-hero.
Yeah, I mean, so that trailer basically threw a lot out there about the whole revolution thing that Sonic Forces seems to be trying to throw out here, like, in a world dark and daring and only one hedgehog.
Only some cartoony characters can save the day.
Exactly, and it's very apocalyptic, which, you know, as we know in previous experience, can be a little bit of a risk. But it seems to be very Saturday morning cartoon, dark and edgy. Not
Satan.
Yeah, not necessarily the bad edgy.
More Sonic Satan, maybe.
Not Shadow with a gun in Westopolis, like mowing down folks.
Mephiles impaling Sonic.
Exactly. So we saw a little bit more of that, story-wise, I guess, a little bit of a hint there. So, you know, it's not just Sonic, classic Sonic, well, modern Sonic, classic Sonic, and you fighting Eggman. It seems like there's a bit of a rivalry going on, like a bit of a, you know, some kind of resistance against a separate cast of characters, which involves Shadow. We've seen Chaos from Sonic Adventure, and we've also seen a new character, but we've also seen whoever that guy is from
Zavok.
Zavok, yeah.
Zavok.
I feel really bad for forgetting the name, but he does kind of just look like he's there, just like, hey guys, what's going on?
I mean, the writing
like the guy that no one wants to invite to the party, and everyone's just like, hey, this guy, let's just bring this guy along. He's asked to come, I guess, like. So everyone's just looking really cool on that hill, or edgy, and it's like Shadow going, Sonic, yeah, oh, how dare you, and Chaos going, hey, remember me, yo? And then you got like Zavok just going,
well,
all right.
Well, let's be honest. Like, Zavok is not an especially well designed or well written villain. So
I mean, it's better than Zaz, right?
well, yeah,
I'm not into Zaz. Not into Zaz that much. But we also saw a new villain called Infinite.
Oh,
Infinite, yeah.
So
that's his name.
Well, apparently. So
Him or her, it's kind of hard to tell.
So Infinite, I guess. That's at least what everyone else is calling him because the Infinite sign appeared at the trailer, which I thought was goofy as hell. But I actually laughed when I saw I didn't laugh at any of that trailer. I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. And then the Infinite sign appeared and was like, dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this
just a little while
kind of
ago.
weird. But yeah, what are your thoughts about the whole the clues of the potential story that might be being thrown out there?
I do feel like this is probably going to be the most involved storyline we've had in Sonic games since Unleashed, I guess. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty dialogue heavy, especially with all the other characters constantly talking to you. Knuckles, Vector, Amy.
and there's also like
everything.
this random Badger NPC or Beaver NPC from it that we see in the
Actually,
the first custom hero demo that we played on the PS4. So it's like, it looks like there's going to be a fairly large cast for a Sonic game.
yeah, and even NPC wise, it's going to be huge because one of the things I noticed while playing any of the three demos that were out there, Modern, Classic, and Avatar, was NPCs just don't shut up. Like they're always talking to you on your earpiece. You had Amy, you had Vector, you had Silver. They're all talking to you in some capacity while you're playing through the levels. And I mean, I don't know how to feel about that because
Yeah,
obviously,
that's a little concerning. It reminds me of Sonic Heroes a bit now.
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I have a question. Now, I couldn't hear their voices when I played my demo, which is why I didn't really talk about the storyline much in my Forces preview. But like, how's the voice acting for like Vector and
Voice acting is fine. It's
All
not.
right, so it's not.
Yeah, it's
you're
not-
splitting 4 kids anymore.
You know what? I couldn't tell you just from playing those demos. You probably need to actually play the full game to get a sense of, how
Well, like-
cheesy it may or may not feel.
Like,
But I thought it was
I
fine.
still remember how bad Vector is. Like, you only need to hear one line from him, like, find a computer room.
Yeah, find the computer room. No, none of that. So
Oh, that's good.
I mean,
So that's
nothing meme worthy that I spotted at least. Maybe I didn't pay my.
worthy in Forces.
Yeah, maybe I didn't pay enough attention, but there were references to Chemical Plant in the demo as well, which is kind
Really?
of cool. Yeah, I mean, as you're playing through the Avatar stage, the NPCs are kind of going, oh, you're playing in the Green Hill Zone, no matter whether you're playing as Classic or the Avatar in the demo. In the Modern Sonic demo, it was the city that we've seen in the original reveal trailer.
It's something Park, I can't read.
Something Park,
Yeah, I
wasn't
can't
paying attention.
remember.
That sounds bad, but it's true. But when you're playing the Avatar stage, you're kind of going through a sort of Green Hill Zone that's kind of getting messed up through like industrialization and stuff, and it's happening on the fly. And you hear like Silver and Vector and stuff going, oh, we'll hold this off at the Chemical Plant Zone, and you see this boss, and it's just like this guy can't get to the Chemical Plant Zone. So I don't know if that means Chemical Plant Zone is going to be in the game, or if it's just a story mechanism, which is also what I was going to say. Like, I don't know if hearing all these voices normally, like in Sonic Heroes, it came off as really goofy, but I think in Forces, and this remains to be seen if it's true or not, but it could be not so cheesy for the simple fact that it might add some atmosphere, because the whole point of the game is that you are, especially your avatar, is one of many freedom fighters that's trying to fight back.
Freedom fighter.
Yeah,
And so if you're trying to
they call
fight
him
back,
the rookie, basically.
they call him the rookie. Yeah, it's like I think I mentioned it to someone at the booth. I was like, it's like the South Park games where they call you the new kid all the time, but in Sonic it's like you're the rookie. But it was I don't know. Maybe if the dialogue isn't too bad, it could add some added tension and atmosphere when needed.
It does
but-
seem like
It's
it's
not
more
bad,
focused
yeah.
on narration, it's for the storyline's sake, whereas in Heroes it was just, look at all these Eggman's robots.
I
It didn't
mean-
really add anything. It just made it annoying, where
Yeah.
here
Well-
it's narrative towards the story.
The thing is, like, this is being written by Ken Pontac and
Graf,
and Graf
I think it's his last name.
and Graf, and like they've done like some good stuff and some bad stuff. Like Lost World that storyline was awful.
I love Colors. I
But
love
Colors was
what they
good.
did with
I don't know what the
Colors.
deal is with
Generations was
colors.
okay.
Everyone hates colors. It's one of my favorite modern Sonic games.
Really?
It is.
Who,
It is.
who
It's-
hates
Me
colors?
too.
Oh,
It's
just
my
everyone on the
favorite.
internet. Hello. You hate me now because I like colors, but
You're lucky we're trying to keep this G-rated.
colors was great, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, if it's the same
Looks like
guys,
right up
then
for Generations.
yeah, I mean, Lost World was wonky as hell, and the dialogue wasn't that great, but it could come back.
And like it went from this goofy story, like this got dark and serious, and like right in the middle for no particular reason.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
So
if this is sorry,
I was just going to say, we should probably move on to actually playing the game.
Yeah, sorry.
So the modern Sonic demo was basically very cool, very slick, 60 FPS, or at least on PS4, version of that park level.
Beautiful.
30 frames a second on Switch, but still looked really good.
We'll talk about Switch later, right?
Yeah, for a little bit when if we have time. But yeah, so how did I feel about this modern Sonic level? It was fine. It was great. Yeah, exactly. It reminded me a little bit of Colors in the sense that it wasn't just, you could boost, but it was a little bit more involved. Like you could actually consider how you timed your jumps, where you're going. It wasn't like Unleashed, which I always have a bugbear with because it always feels like a memory game. It's like you want to survive like Ice Cap or whatever.
Those QTEs were messed
It's like
up.
remember to press crouch at the right time, otherwise you just hit the wall. So there was less of that, and it was more colors inspired in terms of the level design. I thought, which I really enjoyed. So I think the make or break side of the modern Sonic stuff is probably going to be in the level design.
Oh yeah.
It was a bit straightforward, the park level, but I think that's purely because it might be just one of the first levels.
It's gotta be the first.
So yeah, how did you guys feel about it?
I just like I said, modern just felt like modern. Just boosting through, using the little zip lines that are there. I managed to grab a few red rings along the way. But other than that, I just felt like modern Sonic does in Generations or Unleashed to me. I didn't really see any major differences.
Well, like, I had a lot of fun with that. It was nice seeing, like we could see some alternate paths that I kept missing, and for me, like the big new takeaway here is the frame rate, because like I've never known I wanted 60 frames in a Sonic game until I've seen it in this demo.
It feels really nice to play as well.
It was very.
It was
nice to look
that's
at.
actually one of the primary reasons I got my own custom PC rig is so I can play Sonic Generations at 60 frames a second, because it's just the best way to play that game.
Exactly.
And like if you're right about this being more colors inspired in terms of level design, I think that's a really good thing, because I think the one thing Colors had over Generations is that like the big primary stage of every world I think had better level design than the 3D Generation stages.
Yeah, and I think they've also taken some cues from Generations a little bit. At least that's what the demo kind of suggested, because Colors was really strong in the level design department, but Generations kind of took that, but it really amped up the spectacle. So you saw some areas in the modern Sonic demo in Forces where you'd be doing some cool platforming stuff, and then you'd be like grinding on a rail, and it was like a transition period to the next part of the stage, and it looked really nice. So it's a great demo to watch as well as play. So yeah, I mean, there were some areas where you could take advantage of like upper routes, in the sense that if you hit the right launch pads, you could grab onto a zip line, and that would get you a red star ring. That sort of optional kind of level design is a bit basic. I'd like to see more extreme, like actual routes, and a bit more open exploration, or maybe a route that kind of curves up and forks, and you can take one way, and you go one way and take one way and do another. But as a first stage, it seems really cool.
Yeah,
So.
Hopefully, the other stages have more variety in their.
This could be because they want to keep it basic for the first stages, just to make it more the training levels, basically.
Look at Patos, look at Green Hills Generations, like. And the first stage of Colors, like those were all pretty basic levels. Of course, in the case of Colors, you did have wisps that opened up the level design later on.
Yeah.
But beyond that,
Yeah, exactly.
That's something the Avatar does, which we'll get into later.
Yeah. One thing that I really wanted to play more of, we did get a glimpse of Classic Sonic, but unfortunately it was in the form of a boss. We didn't really get any kind of full demo of the actual stage. I wonder why that is, but maybe it was just for the constraints of time, because you've got 3 demos on the go for the same game. You don't want people playing a game for like half an hour at a booth and pissing off the rest of the line. But
I'd say getting through all 3 took about 10 to 15 minutes, I think.
Yeah. So the boss was cool. It was a Green Hill boss that turned instead of a ball on a chain, it was a massive saw thing, bit more menacing, and then it transitioned into Egg Dragoon. So
for me, that's when the boss fight really gets going. Is Egg Dragoon.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting now. We've had like the boss in 3 different variations, from Werehog to Modern Sonic and now Classic Sonic.
Yeah.
Like, they keep reusing that thing, but pretty solid every single time.
They love that Egg Dragoon. It's only a matter of time before the Death Egg comes back, right? Seriously, come on. But yeah, like it's one of those things where it's like, it must be like the first classic Sonic level. And yet again, in terms of boss, it's like, well, this escalated quickly. It's like, oh, I remember this boss. Knock him about a couple of times, and then Eggman's like, right, okay, here we go. Egg Dragoon, do you remember this, buddy? And I'm like, oh no, how the frick do I beat this thing? And it was quite interesting how you used a different strategy to beat him as well, because you had to use like these falling rocks to try and bat back to him while you're avoiding his spears or something. So it was kind of cool.
One thing I noticed about classic Sonic is that, as I recall in Generations, one button could be used to just make him spin dash, right? Like you just spin dash with one button.
Yeah, had a spin dash.
And now it has to you had to go down and press the jump button to make him do that.
I noticed that. Yeah, that was the first thing I noticed. I was like, right, where's the spin dash button from Generations? So it's like Square or something usually does that, and then I'm just like, oh no, I'm neutered. Sonic is neutered. But there's a crouch button. It's circle, right? And then while you're holding that, you have to press X. And I was like, this is a bit janky.
You also just press down.
Yeah, you can also do that. Yeah, of course. Obviously, we were talking about Mania earlier on, and I'm just like, how do I forget like the classic way of doing it? But I don't know if you guys noticed, but I was told that the drop dash from Sonic Mania is also in Sonic Forces.
We forgot to talk about the drop dash in Mania. But,
so we actually did. So sorry about that. We'll add it into like a written preview or something. But yeah, it's in Forces as well. It's really cool to initiate, and it's in my frame of mind. Yeah, it's cool. You do it the same way you do it in Mania, where you jump up, and if you press jump again in midair and hold it, you do the drop dash when you land. In a way, I wonder if that's their way of kind of replacing the easy spin dash button. Like maybe it's their way of adding a little bit of strategy to the classic Sonic stage. But who knows?
So, I'm wondering now, is Sonic Mania influencing the 3D modern Sonic franchise?
It certainly seems like there's some crossover. Who knows? But we don't know anything yet. But yeah, it's quite interesting how, obviously Mania is influenced by Sonic Team, and it's a fan development studio working on that, and then also fan development studios now influencing Sonic Team in the sense that they're adding new elements and stuff. So that's kind of really cool. And I guess if nothing else, it kind of cements the fact that Sonic Mania isn't just a fan project, a glorified fan project. It's a legitimate official game that Sonic Team is sanctioned and stuff because they've accepted the drop dash. So what more proof do you need? So it's kind of cool. I was a bit disappointed that we couldn't play the classic Sonic Green Hill,
right?
Because we saw the video a few weeks ago.
The video trailer, and that always concerned me because it seemed like it was kind of like Colors, 2D levels where it was just mainly flat plains and with a few little hills and everything.
It's definitely not as involved as the Green Hill stage from Generations.
Yeah, it doesn't look as nearly as involved.
That means that there are more of the shorter
levels.
But
it's not much we can see without actually having to get to play that.
Yeah, I mean, from all we can go with is by our eyes now, right? For that particular stage, hopefully it's not there because they're reworking it. Because I didn't get a good vibe from that particular gameplay demo.
Yeah.
Sorry to say, but people were saying, oh yeah, there's strategy in it. Of course there is. If you jump at the right time, you kind of miss the spring, and the spring's supposed to slow you down, and all this stuff. And I'm like, that's so low key level design. That's not even a thing. If you're just planning on speedrunning Sonic, that is supposed to be a meta game. It's not meant to be the game. So I wasn't really impressed with that kind of argument. So I'm really hoping that they're kind of just involving the classic Sonic stages a little bit more. I guess we should move on to the Avatar stage because kind of exhausted all the classic Sonic stuff now.
There's actually 2 Avatar stages on display. I don't know if you've played both of them.
Was there now? So I played this one that was Green Hill, and I played as
I played as the bad one.
Yeah,
there's a bad one.
The funny thing is the Switch level has a completely different.
Okay, so
let's 3D action stage.
Okay, right. So let's talk about that one in a minute. Let's talk about the one that we've all played, which is the Green Hill one. You play as you can create your own avatar and stuff in Sonic Forces, but for the purposes of this demo, we had a pre-made character, and it was a little purple cat. Looked a bit weird to me because
you got a black rabbit.
So I got the death rabbit.
You got the death rabbit. Oh man, I want to talk about the death rabbit, but let's talk about the cat first because the cool thing about the cat is that I think its unique ability is that it can grab at least one ring if you take damage. I think that's one of the things you can do. So that wasn't very apparent to me when I was playing the demo because there were lots of crushing elements in the demo that I played, and I just died straight out from being squashed. But how do we feel about that? Because the way the character moved was completely different. It was a much more slower paced gameplay.
It felt stiff to me, and a little bit janky too.
Yeah.
I admit, like, I wanted to play this. I wanted to play this again before, like, I wrote an article about the about this particular feature.
Yep.
Because, like, I feel like this is something that maybe you just have to adjust to because the character just controls differently. But I am at least worried that like these aren't just different controls, but potentially bad controls, or at least not as good. But yeah, like I died constantly trying to jump platforms because I kept misjudging like how fast and how far the character could jump, and I guess kept falling into holes.
It felt like a little bit like Modern Sonic when Modern Sonic is on a 2D plane. He feels a little more stiffer and awkward than, say, Classic does.
Yeah.
So I think they were using a Modern Sonic feel to it. I didn't even realize your character could do a homing attack using its grappling hook until I played the Switch
I didn't
level.
realize that either. That's weird.
But that's actually something we didn't realize until we did the other demo on Switch.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
On
and
this
that's-
one, I did the electric whip. Did everybody do the electric whip, or did
I've
you do
done
the
the
burst
electric whip,
the burst
yeah.
gun?
So to kind of rewind a bit, like the electric whip and the flamethrower, those are elements that you assign to the right trigger, right? And that's like that's the unique ability for each avatar
Yeah, and
character,
it affects
right?
what
So,
affects what wisps you get. Too.
yeah, exactly. So I played the flamethrower, and that's essentially the more you hold it, the more a jet of fire comes out. You can take out entire waves of enemies that way. It felt a little bit like, remember one of those classic Mega Drive or Genesis games where it's like you're playing as like a RoboCop or something, and you run on the spot, and then every now and then you have to hold a button to like do a flamethrower to take out waves of enemies. It felt like a Genesis game. Like I felt like I was playing RoboCop, but it was fine. Like I don't know, because like the cat thing was I think I'm with you guys. Like it felt a bit stiff. It reminded me a lot of some of the negative. I know I talked a big game about colors earlier on, but one of the negative things I found with colors was that maybe some of the movements of Sonic, especially in the 2D bits, felt a bit stiff. And that reminded me of that, like the way the character moved, the way you jumped, the way it kind of stuck to cliffs and stuff, and kind of maybe as a safety mechanism, it was a bit. You couldn't really make accurate your jumps and movements, I don't think.
Now, regarding the flamethrower, you don't just use that to kill enemies.
Right.
You can also use it to like do this kind of jump into the
If
air.
if you get the burst wisps, you can actually
That's
get
right.
the
And this
burst
is
power.
something we really have to discuss in the
burst through the
Switch
air.
demo.
Right.
Yeah.
But, But now the Electro Whip, I liked like the basic like attack motion of that weapon.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they like purposefully like line up these enemies so that you can hit them. You can just wipe them out all at once.
I screwed up using the yellow wisp with that. I don't know how to use it
But
right.
the really interesting thing about the Electro Whip is that like you can actually use it to affect your jump,
Right.
like and affect your speed. Like so you can whip it to make your character get a little boost, and if you want to redirect the jump, you can whip it to move into a different direction.
Gotcha.
And so it's an interesting little bit of like additional traversal that made the game flow surprisingly well when I wasn't doing death-defying jumps
Yeah, absolutely.
from tiny platform to tiny platform.
So very quickly, let's talk about the Switch version that you played, because it sounds
Right.
like you played a very different demo, and
Yeah,
and maybe it is different from what I played in the PS4 version, which was. I guess we should just round it off. It was basically just a 2D stage where you were jumping across different platforms, trying to avoid crushing pillars, and then every now and then you had a couple of waves of enemies that you
from
use a
a
flamethrower.
giant enemy crab. That you
Yeah,
had to-
I mean, I guess I liked the red wisp as well, which gave you the extra jumps. It reminded me a lot of Sonic Runners, those bits where you had like
Yeah.
loads of rings in the air, and if you jumped enough times or hit enough enemies, you could get the goodies in the air. So yeah, I mean that's that. So what about the Switch version that you played, Black Rabbit?
As we said before, it runs at 30 frames.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it does look like the graphics have taken a bit of a downgrade. Like I noticed that the shadows aren't as solid. Like
I
there's
didn't really
some
notice that myself.
anti-alien- Like they look a little jagged. I think.
It's possible it's because it's in portable mode too. That's the
Yeah.
only way
Well,
you
like
can play
we
the game.
don't know how it runs in console mode.
We should talk about the avatar in that level.
And the character models also look a little jaggy at times, like low resolution. Like, okay, now, yeah.
Yeah, because you're playing. I was playing as the Black Rabbit through this modern Sonic's level, and it actually felt much better.
Felt a lot better.
You're playing because he has this grappling hook, so he's homing attacking constantly with that. he's hitting these little stars that are in the sky where you can swing around and get a,
Yeah.
get
That's
a
kinda
huge
cool.
area into the air.
It felt pretty good.
So it was basically Sonic's Modern Sonic's level from the demo, but it was using this character.
like it was a different level design as well.
Oh, but it was the same
yeah,
environment.
you went through a slightly different area.
And,
Like there's one area where there's a whole group of badniks where you can just chain and homing attack
Yeah, it's like
kill them all at
You
once,
hit
and
with
that
the whip, and then your character slams into him like.
and that adds some red wisps that you can do, and then you can just burst through the sky and hit like those rainbow circles to
That's cool.
grab a red
Yeah.
ring and everything.
And
Okay.
eventually you get to a point where a side-scrolling section, like they have these red wisps in the air, these like circles of gold rings. So you can like jump through the air, hit the wisps, and then keep jumping through the air and like gathering the rings as you go.
It's funny. It's
Yeah.
a much better experience with that avatar on that level than it was on the HD level we
But
played.
it was also like our second experience period with the avatar, so it does make me wonder if we just also got more used to it by then.
Sure.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go
Right.
back to that HD avatar to really get a feel for it.
Nice. Okay. Well, to sum up, how do you guys feel about Forces from what you've played?
I'm looking forward to it. It's fun. Like I was like thinking that the Avatar was going to be terrible, and it turns out like it might be good.
Yeah.
Like there's hope for it now.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity there. What do
Yeah.
what do you think, Jason?
I still think it's out of the two games, it's the lesser of the two, in
Oh,
my opinion.
definitely.
But it's still a solid game. I mean, we're getting two really good Sonic games for this year.
Yeah.
Like I think this has a chance
Nobody could
to be at
complain
least
about.
as good as Generation, if not maybe a little worse because of the Avatar.
Yeah, sure. I think from my perspective, the proof again, I think, and the challenge that I think Sega has is getting this into people's hands because I think there's a little bit of suspicion about how well this game is going to be, and especially with all the announcements and all the things that are happening in the game, it may seem a bit like too much. It's too much going on, and too much, and maybe something will suffer. I played the Modern Sonic part of the demo. I thought it was great. Like, would like to see more improvements in what they're doing there, but as a first level, it was fine. And then I think again, like it just takes a little bit more convincing. Really, the only challenge they need to figure out is the level design and just making sure that whatever they got cooking for the rest of the game is just stellar quality. So, but yeah, it was fine from what I played. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I was
So-
gonna say this year it feels like its own generations. We got a game for the generation of classic fans that grew up with Sonic since the '90s, and we got a game for the more modern fans
Yeah.
who grew up with like Sonic X and that kind of
I
crap.
think like this may be the one year where we finally please almost everybody.
Yeah, I mean, for all the stuff that's been said about Forces, like we played it, all the three of us, and I think our general reaction. I mean, we've just talked about all the things we were like a bit unsure of and the bit things we liked, but overall we didn't hate it, right? So
Oh,
no,
it's
we
it's
did
solid.
not.
cautiously optimistic, let's call it that.
Yeah.
Way better experience than Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you can't get much worse than that, honestly. I mean, they need to throw in like a little glitch which allows you to just infinite jump for all eternity. But there you go. So that was it. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Thanks very much.
Bye bye.
Bye.
But